Live to work or work to live? The new cultural war dividing America. Welcome back to the Freedom Room, where we explore the issues shaping America through history, culture, and current events. Today, we'll examine a growing debate that has become one of America's latest cultural battles. Should people live to work, or should they work to live? For generations, Americans were taught that hard work, long hours, and career success were the key to achieving the American dream. But today, rising cost of living, housing struggles, inflation, students' debt, workplace stress have caused many people, especially younger generations, to question whether sacrificing personal happiness for work is still worth it. As some defend the traditional work ethics, others are demanding a better balance between career and life. So why has the simple question become such a major cultural divide? Do you live to work or you work to live? This is the Freedom Room. Subscribe, watch to the end, and we'll back with more commentary.
People will often say that Americans live to work while everyone else, especially Europeans, work to live. But I've wondered why that would be the case. Are Americans living to work, working hard, working many hours because they have to survive? Or is it just in the American culture to be super ambitious and working hard and, love to go to work every day? And are the people that are working to live, like, for example, French people, that way because there is already a large social safety net in place with labor protections, workers' rights? Or are they more generally laid back, more relaxed, more wanting to take vacations?
American work culture is so draining.
I'm tired of working inside, being indoors. So I just grabbed my computer and came outside to get some sun and work outside in the yard. I think I have internet. I think the internet came with me, but anyone else thinks Earth is weird? Like, all we do is consume and work, repeat, consume, work, repeat. I know some people might be having more fun, but the majority of people just work and consume. It's kind of a weird way to live. I wonder how long people think they want to do this for.
American hustle culture is not normal. Maybe it's normalized to us, but it's not normal to the rest of the world. We work more than almost any other country. We rank 8th place in the entire world for hours worked. On top of that, we are the only advanced economy without any federally mandated vacation time. We also don't have any federally mandated sick days. I mean, how many days have you had to go into work sick because you just didn't have any time off? And even if you do have a job with time off in the United States, you're probably too guilty to use it. And on top of all this, because life is so expensive, people here are working older and older. It seems like we are just bombarded constantly with messaging tell us to work harder and just grind. Here you have 2 jobs and a side hustle, and people brag about working on the weekends. Just because something is normal doesn't necessarily mean it's healthy, and if you look around the world, people look at us like we work a lot, maybe even too much. There are alternatives, and traveling really opens your eyes to this as you see the way that other countries work or not work as much. Hustle culture isn't really the badge of honor that we're all making it out to be. Americans are burned out, and it shows. Because if other countries can be more productive while working less and also being happier, maybe they're onto something. And maybe it's worth thinking about here.
The fact that some people are being called lazy because they don't work 2 or 3 jobs is insane work to me. I think America has lost the plot. I think we forgot that we are not supposed to work 2 or 3 jobs to survive. We are supposed to work 1 job, and that job is supposed to allow us to pay our bills and to allow us to partake in activities with our family. We are supposed to have a decent home and not have to work 7 or 8 jobs just to pay the rent. Back in the day, especially in the South, they used to have big ass nice homes. I mean, big ass homes for the low, okay? And that was normal, having a big house, not even an apartment. Let's start there. But a house. It was normal to have a home that was very inexpensive, and their 1 job paid for that house. The fact that people are calling other people lazy because we are at a point where we don't want to work 2 or 3 jobs. We don't want to do the side hustles. We don't want to do the Door Dashes. We don't want to do the Amazon Flex. We don't want to do the Uber Eats. We don't want to do the side jobs, the 9 to 5 during the day and then turn around and do a night job. We don't want to do the part-time and the full-time job in one day. We don't want to do that. And the fact that some of us are being called lazy because we don't want to have 2 or 3 jobs, we're not supposed to have 2 or 3 jobs. And then turn around and complain that either mom or dad is not at home spending time with the kids because they're too busy out working. I think America has lost the plot. We are supposed to work 1 job, and that job is supposed to sustain us the entire way through. We have lost the plot.
We Americans don't just work a lot, we believe deeply in it. From the American Revolution to rags to riches stories, hard work has been baked into our national identity. And it's not just how we earn a living, it's how we measure a person's responsibility, their character, even their worth. Think of it, one of the first questions we ask someone who we don't know is, what do you do for work? But something kind of shifted in the last few decades. Work for a lot of us has stopped being just transactional and started becoming meaningful, a place to find purpose, identity, even belonging. And that sounds like progress until meaning becomes expectation. Expectation turns into longer hours, fewer boundaries, and burnout disguised as ambition. Sociologists point out that when work becomes the place we're supposed to find ourselves, there's suddenly no clear way to step away. There's always another email, another project, another reason to keep working. So maybe the problem isn't that Americans don't know how to rest. Maybe it's that we have tied our sense of value too tightly to productivity and forgotten that worth doesn't disappear when the workday ends. What do you think? Are you seeing this in your life? Check out the Top of Mind podcast this week for more of the conversation.
Another American cultural divide between Republicans and Democrats. And this time they're arguing about what success means. And as trivial as that may seem, it has an oversized impact. And here's the core of the cultural split. Some Americans define success as achievement. It's about winning, win the promotion, increase your income, prove your value through performance. This group believes pressure, competition, and consequences drive people to work harder and make the country strong. This cultural perspective shows up most clearly in Republican arguments about poverty, foreign policy, and immigration. Other Americans define success as quality of life, time with family and friends, health, pursuing hobbies and interests. This group believes that life is more than money. There is meaning to life. People come first. Enjoyment, happiness, and contentment matter. This perspective shows up most clearly in Democratic arguments about economic policy, social safety nets, and immigration based on need. Achievement-first people value discipline and sacrifice. Quality of life first people value relationships and happiness. Both call it success, but they are talking about 2 different things. And once you see this, the political arguments make a little more sense. When Republicans say people need to work harder and face consequences, they're defending an achievement model. Society improves when individuals compete, perform, and take responsibility. Democrats say people need support and security to thrive. They are defending a quality of life model. Society does improve when people are healthy, stable, and connected. Achievement drives innovation and growth. Quality of life drives stability and community strength. Every society needs both. Attacking or disparaging the other is what weakens America. Which side of the spectrum are you closer to, achievement or quality of life? And join us for more cultural insight on my Substack, culturalperspective.com.
For older Americans, hard work has always been seen as a source of pride, responsibility, and a pathway towards financial security. They argue that dedication, discipline, and commitment helped previous generations build families, businesses, and communities. However, many younger workers see the world differently. They point to a changing economy where wages have not always kept the pace with the cost of living, healthcare, and everyday expenses. Some believe that companies have benefited from increased productivity while workers struggle with burnout and financial pressure. This has created debate over remote work, the 4-day work week, workplace expectations, and whether success should be measured only by income or also by quality of life. The disagreement is not simply between generations. It reflects a larger question about what people should expect from work in modern days or in modern America. Let me get your opinion in the comment section. Stay tuned for more commentary. Let's watch more clips to see people's opinion on this issue. Thank you. This is the Freedom Room. Stay tuned.
Europeans think American work culture is crazy, and they are not wrong. I mean, Americans seem to live to work instead of the European culture, which is much more about working to live. In the United States, it's a point of pride, like a badge of honor, that you work so hard and that you work long hours. And what you think is going to be like a season of your life where you're grinding for a period of time ends up turning into your whole life because you've let it. American companies have convinced you that getting a doctor's note to take a sick day is normal. And they have tricked you into even the minimal amount of vacation time that you do earn doesn't even get taken. Over 40% of vacation time that's given to an employee is not utilized throughout the year because of PTO guilt. People feel this kinship with their coworkers and they don't want to leave those coworkers in a lurch, so they don't even take the very minimal amount of vacation that's given to them because of that guilt. It's very beneficial for companies to have the healthcare situation integrated into your employment so that you are basically held hostage in keeping a job even when it doesn't serve you, you don't like it, it doesn't pay enough, the boss is terrible. You keep the job because if you leave the job, you are without health care because you can only get health care through employers in the United States. It's not a socialized program like virtually the rest of the world. Plus, employers don't have to pay for maternity care. Because of the way cities have expanded in the United States, there's a commuting culture to having a job where you live out in the suburbs and you commute into the city in order to go to work. And that kind of wasted time is something that Europeans just cannot wrap their head around. That is such a waste of your life. Worker protections in the United States are so far behind the rest of the world because profits come before people. And this shows up because employers in the United States can fire you for any reason without cause, even when they are insanely profitable. One of the ways that they're able to increase their profitability for shareholders is by letting go mass amounts of employees, even when those employees are what got them to the profitability. And then later they'll just hire people back at a much lower salary because they can. And the United States lets them. The rest of the world doesn't let corporations just have unlimited profits at the expense of the employees who got them there. If all of these problems with the American work culture are hitting too close to home and you're feeling like, oh my gosh, she's nailing it, this is exactly what goes on in my workplace, you don't have to stand for that. You can find a visa around the world and move abroad and get out of that corporate culture and find a new way to live. Somewhere where you can be calm and free and happy without that kind of hustle culture all the time. If you don't know me yet, I'm Veronica. And 5 years ago, my family of 4 moved out of the United States for good. And now I teach Americans how they can get out of the chaos of America. I match you with visa programs around the world that you qualify for so that you can find your exit from the United States.
Why most Americans stay broke forever. They wake up, go to work, get paid, pay bills, repeat. Is that really living or just surviving? That was my life for many years, working 12, 14, sometimes 16 hours a day to stay broke. Every paycheck come in and went right back out. I was exhausted and going nowhere fast. Then I realized something powerful. The people who control wealth in America don't live like this. They do the exact opposite of what we're taught. Here's what they do. 1, they own businesses, not just work in them. 2, they earn multiple streams of income, not just a paycheck. 3, they pay themselves first, not last. 4, they earn money while they sleep. 5, they invest in assets, not just bills and stuff. Those 5 shifts changed everything for me, helping me reach a net worth of over $2 million and enter the top 10% of earners in America. If you are tired of repeating the same cycle, drop "I'm ready" in the comment box. Follow, like, and save this video for later.
The biggest con the government ever pulled on us was to convince us to work 40 plus hours a week, 5 days a week for 50 years, spending no time with your friends, your family, your passions, or your children, all to retire with a Social Security check that isn't even enough to pay 1 month's rent. The truth is we are all slaves to the system, yet they distract us with entertainment and games and overwhelm us with the fear cycle so that we just put our heads in the sand and continue to work, continue rushing around in life, never having a moment to look up and realize that we are all slaves in this system. A system that convinces you to work the majority of your life away, never spending time with your family, your children, and if you're lucky, retire at 65. And if you're even luckier, you get 1 more decade before you succumb to a lifetime of working. All so that a few powerful white men at the top get wealthy beyond belief so that they can live like gods amongst men. And then they accomplish this by convincing half the population that the oppressed minority is the reason your life is hard and not the wealthy minority, which is actually the reason for your struggles and pain. Your enemy is not your neighbor. Your enemy is not an immigrant. Your enemy is not someone with a different religion. Your enemy has always been and will always be the rich and powerful who pit us against each other so that we never rise up to overthrow the con men in business suits. Until women have true equality and true power over their own bodies, until native treaties are honored, until the mass thugs kidnapping and killing our people on the streets are brought to justice, until the Epstein files are released fully unredacted, so long as our tax dollars are spent on bombing children in the third world, so long as the modern day slavery in the form of the prison industrial complex is still standing, and so long as the military industrial complex takes priority over the well-being of our fellow Americans, I say we call for revolution. Thank you all so much for having me.
The real economic crisis is not unemployment. It's the fact that people are working full-time jobs and still can't afford basic life. In this economy, you're better off just being unemployed because at least you have some free time. Us people who work full-time jobs can't afford life and we have no time.
Get ready with me while we talk about how being overworked in the US can impact your social life. Are Americans less social because they are overworked and really tired at the end of the day? I think so too, and I agree with this person. I moved to the US when I accepted a scholarship to run track at a Division I school. Soon after I got here, I realized that most of my teammates were working at 2 or 3 jobs. And I was like, you are 18 years old. Why are you working at 3 jobs? You should be studying and having fun. And they'll be like, oh, I'm used to it. I started working when I was 15 or 16. I was like, because most Spanish people don't start working until they graduate from college. But then I learned why Americans start working at such a young age and have multiple jobs at a time. Going to college in the US is super expensive and that leads to school debt. So I was in my own little bubble because 1, I was on a full scholarship, and 2, I was used to Spain prices. Going to college in Spain, it's like $1,000 or $3,000 a year. I actually did my first year of college in Spain and then I transferred. I didn't pay anything because I had more than 3 siblings. That's just how it works. But in my opinion, it's not just college. Life in the US is very expensive. Health insurance is incredibly expensive here, and so is rent, car payments, eating out, the simple things. So people literally cannot afford not to work, even though they are tired or exhausted from being overworked. I feel like it's a vicious cycle here. Even though you know you shouldn't work more hours, you keep doing it because you need the money. And most Americans have school debt and they want to pay that as soon as possible. Whether in Spain and other southern European countries, you don't have the pressure of working constantly because you just don't need much. Universities are mostly free, and so is healthcare and most childcare. Yes, it's not free, we pay through taxes. But the difference is that in Europe, you pay through taxes and you're fully covered. Like, you will never get a medical bill in your mail. Copays don't exist. Whether in the US, we pay taxes, private insurance, and copays, not to mention the cost of daycare if you're a parent. Many European countries have very generous workplace policies, and in the US, consider yourself lucky if you get 1 or 2 weeks of PTO. We are not gonna get into maternity leave and paternity leave. So yes, in my opinion, many Americans work crazy hours, and consequently, they are tired and exhausted at the end of the day, and they'd rather be home chilling than socializing. It makes so much sense, and I don't blame them. So these are my observations. What do you guys think?
American work culture is obsessed with the concept that how much you work is how much you are worth, which is why people tend to feel quite overworked, want to take a vacation, move away, etc. My name is Zach. I've traveled to the UK for 3 months making cultural observations, and this is one of the many reasons why we chose to leave the US. If you like this kind of content, give me a follow and also subscribe to my newsletter in my bio. But as many of you know, I own my own small business, so I actually had the luxury of being a lot more flexible in my work schedule. I also had the luxury of creating the schedule for my employees. So I went to them and I straight up asked them, what type of schedule would you want to work? They said 410s, I gave it to them. This allowed them to have a 3-day weekend, and that was something that I think they valued significantly. I also had very high retention. I also had people who would leave for what they believed to be greener pastures, come back and work for our company later. The biggest reason is they would go to another company. That company would have mandatory overtime, which I don't think you guys have here. And I think every time I say that, people get shocked. But they would end up having to work on Saturdays and Sundays, 60-hour weeks, and they would get burned out. I mean, honestly, their bodies would just we were working in the trades. I owned a gutter company. So they would just, even though they were young, sub 30, they would be just broken by Monday. What these business owners don't realize is that there is a capacity to human potential as far as what we can do without needing rest. And you guys have solved that. I'm not going to say it's perfect. I've never worked here in the UK, but as far as I can tell, based on everybody's comments and the conversations that I've had, the work-life balance here is significantly better. And that's just reflected in how many holidays you have. I look at some of the job postings here, and it has a mandatory 20 to 28 days off or whatever for just random holiday pay or whatever. What would be considered a very generous compensation package in the United States would be maybe 14 to 21 days off. And 21 days is you're at an executive level, CEO, you are running the company. 28 days is unheard of. Most people, myself included, return to work within a few weeks of their children being born.
Tell me if I'm wrong, boomers have no sense of work-life balance. And it's no fault of their own. They were just bred that way. But some of these people that I work with are sending emails at 10:30 p.m. on a Saturday. What are you doing? And don't get me wrong, I'm not a slacker. I'm a hard worker during business hours and I am being paid to do so. 5 p.m. on a Friday, that work phone is on Do Not Disturb. No free labor, babe.
One thing I realized instantly after living abroad is how the hustle culture in America is straight up toxic. I'm not perfect. I played a part in it too at some point in my life. Think about it, this illusion of hustle. You have people who are working 2 jobs and still broke. I know there's many different factors and many different reasons for that, of course. And we also have people who do it to themselves. People who want to look rich online for a lifestyle, but their debts are creeping up on them. A great example right now, look at NBA player Malik Beasley. That's not success. And don't get me started on the cringe LinkedIn hustle culture people on there. Holy shit. You'll see a post I was in the hospital, but I was still able to close a deal. Bro, worry about your health on that hospital bed, bro. Fuck the goals, fuck the metrics. They'll replace your ass just like that. As soon as you flatline with no problem, no remorse. But you over here posting about that just to kiss ass to other corporations or companies to show them that you're a company person. Don't get it twisted. People abroad hustle too, but they don't make their work and their business their personalities like we do in the US. People have their families, their hobbies, the things that they enjoy outside of work. When you meet somebody abroad, the first question isn't, what do you do for a living? That's not a common question like it is in the US. What do you do for a living? What you do for a living is who you are as a person only. People abroad, they live to work, not work to live. That's the primary difference that I've been seeing. That's a different kind of freedom. If you've been questioning the grind, you're not crazy. More people are opening up their eyes to it now. They're realizing it more. The corporations play a big part in this, and the billionaires, because they want to see the American people suffer. So I understand as well why people might have multiple jobs and still broke. That's what I mean by factors that they can't control. But lifestyle creep and trying to impress other people to show them that you have more money than what you're really worth, that you can control. Yeah.
The truth is that America is expecting a major shift in how people view work, success, and happiness. The challenge is finding the balance between ambition and personal well-being, between building a career and enjoying life outside of work. A stronger economy requires productive workers, but workers also need fair opportunities, respect, and the ability to support themselves and their families. At the Freedom Room, our goal is to explore the debate shaping society from different perspectives and from different opinions. That's why, from the clips you watch, you will hear different opinions people have expressed concerning the issue. What do you think? Should America return to the traditional culture or working harder and longer? Or is it time to redefine success and prioritize a better quality of life? Share your thoughts in the comment section below, and don't forget to subscribe, turn on the notification bell for more discussion, and see you in our next video. Thank you for staying tuned. This is the Freedom Room.